Who was the unfortunate apprentice of Darth Nihilus, the Lord of Hunger? And why did he even feel the need to take on an apprentice in the first place? Nihilus is, and always has been, one of the most influential lords of the Old Republic. His name is perfectly representative of the nihilism that he would spread wherever he went. A rejection of moral principles, an obsession with death and decay. Even in places in the galaxy where he had not visited, the average citizen and Jedi were terrified and resigned to their fate at the hands of a life-consuming entity. However, a single person broke from this mold and managed to claw her way out of the bleak darkness that Nihilus had put her in. This was his apprentice, Marr, who defied all odds as a Sith by turning to the light side in the end, despite who her master was. Not only this, but Marr would soon be instrumental in the eventual defeat of Nihilus, playing a pivotal role in toppling one of the most powerful Sith that have ever lived. And yet, hardly anyone talks about Marr. So who exactly was Marr? And how did one of the most vile Sith Lords lose his apprentice to the other side of the Force? Well, join us today as we open a holocron and enter the days of the Old Republic. Our story begins in the year 3952 BBY on the planet of Katarr. This was a Force-rich world populated by the Mirror-Luca race. The Mirror-Luca were essentially humans in every aspect besides two things. All of them were Force-sensitive, and they did not have eyes. Where the eyes would have been, instead there were empty sockets covered by a layer of flesh. As a result, they had no physical sight, and instead perceived things around them using the Force. This is where we first met Marr, who was one of the people, spending much of her time meditating on the life around her, embracing the light side and the beauty of the galaxy, admiring her home and its people. That was until the Dark Lord Nihilus arrived one fateful day. But before we get into this story, a little bit more background. For those of you who watched our holocron detailing the events of the very first Jedi Purge, you will immediately recognize the name of the planet Katarr. Around this time, the Sith triumvirate of Traya, Nihilus, and Sion had been waging a shadow war with a very weakened Jedi Order, picking them off in groups at a time until they were but few in number. The Jedi had no idea in actuality who was hunting them, so a master by the name of Apprentice called together a great many brilliant Jedi in order to discuss the threat. The location that they decided to rendezvous on was none other than Katarr. However, this meeting was a farce, as Apprentice had leaked the information about their enclave to the wider galaxy, hoping to draw out this hidden enemy and destroy them swiftly. In response, Nihilus's ghost ship, known as the Ravager, loomed overhead the peaceful planet where the Jedi were meant to rendezvous. He cared little for any Jedi trap. Black smoke crawled its way across the entire surface of the planet, the power of Nihilus unleashed as he consumed everything and everyone in sight, destroying the Jedi that were present along with the entire population, leaving Marr entirely alone. Marr was the sole survivor, though she would quickly wish that she had perished alongside her family. Since her people, the Mirror-Luca, had perceived life exclusively using the Force, death impacted them a lot more than a normal person. All of the pain and death of her entire people overwhelmed her senses in a way that she was rendered weak and on the verge of insanity. She didn't just witness their death with her eyes. Instead, she literally perceived all of them pass away. In a brutal moment, Marr looked up to Nihilus, looming over large, and finally, she had reached her limit and passed out. Later, to her surprise, she awoke on the Ravager. She also sensed that all of her wounds had been healed. However, the flesh in her eye sockets had also been removed. Slowly, she made her way towards the helm of the ship, having no idea why Nihilus had spared her. So uncharacteristic for the Lord of Hunger. She soon would find the Dark Lord and demanded answers. Wordlessly, the creature reached out with the Force and showed Marr the vision from his perspective. Nihilus showed her every being in the galaxy was unable to feel the Force as the two of them could. They perceived the Force very similarly to one another, and Nihilus took this as a great sign. He showed her that every being in the galaxy was unable to feel the Force as he and she could, and how they were ultimately disconnected from all life. Marr and Nihilus could feel no life whatsoever. As a Mirror-Luca, sensing life was paramount to them, but Marr came to believe that Nihilus was right in seeking out destruction. Deceived, she believed that Nihilus fed upon the ugliness of the galaxy and only left silence and peace, and that the removal of the wretchedness was bringing stillness and order where there had once been complete chaos. Nihilus never spoke a word, but Marr succumbed to him accepting the silent invitation to join him and become an apprentice. Marr was given the title of Nihilus' Shadow Hand, along with a meditation chamber and living quarters on the Ravager, being one of the only living beings on the entire vessel. However, she always felt as if it was more of a cell. She would later say that she had not so much joined Nihilus, than rather resigned herself to him. His infectious nihilism had destroyed her hope and left her accepting of a silent and an empty fate. But not only this, he had bound her to himself using the Force, causing them to more or less share a deep connection in their power. He could take from her or give to her as he pleased. She would operate as an assassin, an agent for him, aiding Nihilus in his quest to hunt down surviving Jedi. All things for Marr would grow quiet for a time, before she sensed a growing disturbance which her master could feel as well. An echo in the Force sending ripples throughout the galaxy, something that had presented itself, and Nihilus was wary of. He would soon dispatch Marr to seek it out, and bring it directly to him. Her journey would lead her to finding the Jedi Meetra Surik, Revan's old general, and Krea's new apprentice. Marr boarded Meetra's ship and incapacitated the crew before challenging the outcast to a one-on-one duel. Following a ferocious battle, Meetra would triumph, destroying Marr's lightsaber. Marr acknowledged Meetra's superior strength and begged for death, knowing that a swift death by Meetra Surik's lightsaber would be far better than one at the hand of her master for her failures. Meetra, however, refused to kill her and instead spared the apprentice's life. Following, fell unconscious, and when she finally awoke later in a ship's medical bay, she was astonished to find Meetra had shown her mercy. Immediately, Marr pledged her loyalty and her life to Meetra Surik, leaving Darth Nihilus behind in a new era of hope. A simple act of kindness had saved this Sith apprentice. Something about Meetra Surik actually gave Marr more hope, as she foresaw the possibility that this Jedi could defeat Nihilus in combat. After this, Marr would officially join the Jedi's crew and help her track down the rest of the Jedi who were not present on Katarr during the Great Feeding. While this may seem like a quick turnaround, it doesn't seem to us like Marr actually ever wanted to be a Sith Lord. In fact, one of Meetra Surik's companions, Atton Rand, mentioned that he had never in all of his travels and life ever heard of a Miraluka Sith, only Jedi of her species. This was because of how intrinsically connected to life and the light side that her people were. This goes to show just how powerful Nihilus's influence was on others. Her hope was growing along with the respect for Meetra Surik, as the Jedi outcast became Marr's new, informal master as a Jedi. While Krea and Rand were dubious about her joining, mostly due to Sith being known to betray their masters, Marr genuinely respected Meetra Surik not only for her strength, but her potential to bring life back to the galaxy. More and more, Marr was growing to believe that Nihilus had shown her a year prior had not been true, and was a complete lie. Along with finding more Jedi, Marr would give important information to Meetra Surik about how to stop Nihilus. She was still very nervous as to whether or not she could actually do it, but had a vision of the future, revealing what the Jedi would need in a final fight with Nihilus. Marr would eventually be a part of the very elite strike team led by Meetra Surik as they boarded the Ravager, the home of Nihilus. While exploring the dead ship, Marr revisited her cell and had one more moment of meditation. In this moment, she finally came to peace with what had happened to her planet and her people, reaching peace and closure. Filled with a new sense of power and gifts of the light side, Marr approached the bridge of the ship. However, the power of the Dark Lord was unrivaled, and the two of them were easily overwhelmed. Freezing Meetra Surik and her companions in place, Nihilus offered Marr mercy and a place back at his side if she should only turn on Meetra and strike her down. Pretended to agree, only to bring Nihilus's defenses down. Once this happened, Marr unveiled the true plan to stop the Dark Lord, to use their bond with one another in the Force to hold back his mighty power, to weaken him, to siphon his energy, as he had done to countless innocents. This unfroze Meetra Surik and the rest of the strike team, allowing them to duel Nihilus on even ground without his godlike power. The battle was no easy task, however, as Marr's plan halted him just enough for Meetra Surik to strike down the Lord of Hunger. In a triumphant moment, Marr decided that the final bit of closure she required was to see the face of Nihilus, the true monster who had tormented her for so long. And what she saw was ultimately nothing She turned around and told Mitra Surik that she had seen a man, nothing more. But this was revealed to be a lie, something she told the rest of the crew to cope with the fact that there was nothing under the mask of Nihilus. Robes, armor, and a mask. All she saw was darkness as she sensed his final alignment. She had likely only ever seen a dark red humanoid shape the entire time she was with Nihilus, seeing him as a being of pure darkness and nothing more. Perhaps in this moment, Visas Marr had hoped that by removing his cursed mask, that she could see something else, giving her a peace of mind that was not truly a nightmarish monster beneath this mask, but a man. However, she was wrong, and Nihilus was a creature of shadow. She could not bear to share the information that she now knew was fact, and to prove this point, Nihilus's body would vanish and explode with dark side energy. He truly had grown beyond a simple man, something that everyone had feared. Following this though, Visas Marr would remain friends with Mitra Surik for a very long time, and would even play an important role in rebuilding the Jedi Order on her homeworld of Katarr. And that, my friends, was the story of Nihilus's apprentice, and how she ultimately was redeemed and stopped her master. It's surprising that of all people, Nihilus's apprentice would embrace the light side and join the Jedi. It's clear that Visas Marr's heart was never in the dark side, and she only joined because she believed there was no hope for the galaxy, that silence was better than chaos. But all the proof she needed was that Nihilus was wrong, and was ready to raise up arms against him. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Visas Marr, the apprentice of Darth Nihilus? Thank you so much as always, my friends, for visiting the channel and the archives today, and may the Force be with you.